Hey guys, welcome back to the homestead. So it's a beautiful Saturday here in Maine. We're getting closer and closer to ready to go to Florida. We're working on the network here in the camper today. So I want to bring you along and I wanted to show you some of the stuff we're doing, some of the things we're putting in place. We signed up for mail service, post mail. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'll bring you along and show you at one of these points and I'll do a review on it. But we've got the mail service set up. We got our mail forwarding to the mail service. And then what that mail service will do is no matter where you're at, you get an email from them saying you have new mail. And they'll show you a picture of the actual piece of mail. And with that, then you can decide, do you want to have them open it and scan it and email it to you? Do you want to have them forward it to you wherever you're at? Do you want them to shred it, throw it away? So with the service that we have, we get, I think, 10 open and scans per month, and each scan can be up to 10 pages, so up to 100 pages of scanning. And I can't remember on the shredding. I think we actually have to pay to shred. So if you had something like a bank statement that you didn't need, you could have them shredded if you weren't comfortable throwing it away. It's pretty cheap. I want to say like 25 cents per mail piece or something like that. So with that, we needed a printer in the camper because when we get, say, a bill for whatever, it doesn't matter what it's for, but let's just say we've got that bill. Now we need to be able to print it, write a check for it, put it in an envelope, and send it. So the first thing we did is we picked up this Wi-Fi Ranger, and we got the Spruce, which I'll show you actually in a minute. It's all installed. But what that does is that allows you to connect the camper to other sources of internet. So the Spruce router is just a router, but what's unique about it is on the front end it can connect to multiple different Wi-Fis. It can then combine them together as a single Wi-Fi. It can have failover, so like when we're working we can use our travel data as our primary, but we can also have it connect to like one of our cell phones as a secondary. So you just it's kind of a real powerful tool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you around and show you the web page for it. And then I'm going to give you a little tour of the camper and what we've done so far on the network and where we've got to go with it. But the installation was like super easy. The Wi-Fi router comes with a 12-volt power cord, and you basically wire that into your camper. Wire it in for 12 volts. And then once you've got it powered up, you basically open up your browser as the directions, really nice directions. Directions will show you. And you go to My Wi-Fi Ranger, and it will come up and prompt you to change the default password, and then it logs you in. So I'm going to grab you guys, and I'm going to show you what I'm seeing on my computer here and what you'd be seeing if you had this router. And I should really get some screen capture software. It'd be a whole lot easier. But I think you're probably seeing that okay. So this is the landing page, and you'll see it shows Wi-Fi. Right now it's connected to our house. Internet shows it's online. And down here is where you'd set your stuff up. And you'll notice I've got a few things showing up. So like I could say I want to connect to this one as well. And tell it to connect. And do I prefer this network over the other network? And what is my network password? So you'd put that all in. And then it will connect to that one. This is the order you want it to connect in. Ethernet is priority, internal Wi-Fi, secondary cellular is last. Then you can have it failover, which then you turn that to, this is the amount of time where it will have to be without internet before it fails over, I believe. And then yeah, so you can have your multi-WAN, you can have hot standby. So like if you had something, if you were doing like a webinar, for example, and the failure just couldn't be tolerated, you could connect to, say, your cell phone is one Wi-Fi and the travel data is the other Wi-Fi. You could set it for hot standby, and then if the travel data for some reason glitched, it would immediately be pulling from the cell phone, and you never even notice a disruption in your webinar. But if you leave it off, and if you set failover for, say, 5 minutes, now what it would do is when after 5 minutes of downtime, it would fail over, it would roll over to the other internet. The other thing you can do here too is instead of hot standby, you can set it for load balance. And what that would do is, like, say we connected it to one of our cell phones and the travel data, and we select load balance, it would load both of the devices and try to give us twice as much internet. So it's a pretty cool, powerful router. So, you know, after you get this set up to connect to the wireless, you know, internet signals, then you set up its own Wi-Fi. So it will actually then repeat out as its own little Wi-Fi, and that way you're not always changing things. And I can explain that a little bit more in a minute. So you can turn on usage tracking. There's the status here. It'll tell you what's going on, what's actually connected. And then you can go register it, I guess. That's pretty straightforward setup. The instruction books is, the instruction book is really good at that. But what I really like about the Spruce router is the fact that it creates its own network inside the camper. So normally, if you're traveling, and let's say I've got my laptop connected to my travel data, and the travel data has a glitch, and we need to connect to the cell phone, then I have to go to my computer, to its Wi-Fi, find the cell phone, connect to it, and then I have to go do the same for the TV and the same for the printer. So with this way, everything in the camper has a single connection, and then that goes and finds the internet. So with that said, I'm going to go show you what we did for an installation. I'm going to show you what we got going on for the printer, and just talk a little bit about what else we have to do, and some of the things I want to kind of try to play with maybe while we're on our trip. So let me take you over here. The first thing I'm going to show you is our coat closet here. It's really nice and big. I mean, the thing is like 24 inches square. Let me see if I can get out of your light there. So we got this printer, which looked a lot smaller in the ads, but it is just a printer, which is all I was looking for the camper. And that fits in there nicely. You can see we got some room around it. We got some spare ink in here. And then I wired it in. Right now, I just pulled this little bung out of the counter, and I brought the cord up. But I got to get a power strip because I got to be able to plug in the TV as well. So I'm going to set you guys down right over here. And I'm going to pull this TV out. And then I'll show you what we got going on here. So there's the Spruce router. Just stuck right to the wall. You know, this has got its ports on the back. It's got its 12 volt power, WAN, and 4 LAN ports. And on the front, a few lights. And then a USB port on the top. But you don't really ever have to get to it. So we went ahead and we wired it down through and right down into our fuse box. If I can get my fingernail in there and open this. So we wired it right down into our fuse box to an empty fuse holder. And yeah, so now it's got its own fuse. It's good to go. And we have internet in the camper with its own network. So then we connect the TV to it. And that's good to go. So some of the things that, we want to do, we've got the solar system connected to it. So you can see, what's going on from in here. If you guys can see that, it doesn't show up real well on camera. But then we can also go look at it on the computer or on our cell phone. So we can then go and fire up our cell phone and look at the solar system in the camper. So what you're seeing here is the camper solar system, because the camper has internet. So with that all said, everything's working really well. We're pretty happy with the travel data, actually. We did actually put a deposit on our Starlink. I don't know how long it'll take us to get one, but we're having a real issue with internet at the house, actually. So here where we live, there's no internet services on the street. There's no wireless internet available anywhere in the neighborhood, anywhere. The only option we really have is either cellular or satellite. And the cellular is okay, but they all slow you down after a certain period of time. So like we're using US Cellular and we get 200 gigabytes a month. But with Sue and I both working at home and both of us liking to watch YouTube at night instead of regular TV, we usually make it about 3.5 weeks before we run out on that. So that's why we went ahead and put the deposit on the Starlink. But in the camper, there's another router in the camper that connects all of the lipit system, whatever, the system up there that controls the whole camper. It connects that so that you can connect to it with your phone. And I want to play with that a little bit because if you get in the belly of the camper, the control system for the camper has an Ethernet cable coming out of it, and then it goes into another router. And then that router is a Wi-Fi router. And then I can connect to that Wi-Fi router for my cell phone, and then I can run the slides and things like that. So what I want to do is see if I can run a cable from that Lippert control box up to the Spruce router, and then that way I don't have to reconnect to a different Wi-Fi. If I want to put my awning in, I don't have to go find out of the Wi-Fi and run my awning in. I can just grab my phone and put my awning in. So that's something we'll probably do when we're on the road in Florida. One of those things. We have to run some new AC wire. The inverter to the breaker box, I use 10 gauge wire for 30 amps because my thinking was that we can only plug into 30 amps on the shore power. So I didn't really think I needed any more than 30 amps from the inverter to the breaker box. But what I find is that I can actually draw some from the batteries. So the Victron inverter will do what's called like grid assist, if you will. And I can tell the Victron inverter that I don't want you to ever draw more than, say, 15 amps from its input from the utility, from somebody's plug-in. And then it can add to that. So what I find is that I can actually run 50 amps in the camper, even though I only get 30 amps in the plug. So that 10 gauge wire is quite a bit too small. So we actually have the right wire, and we'll be installing that when we get in Florida as well. But that's kind of about it. I know that's a lot of rambling, but that's kind of where we're at with the camper and the network, and we're getting really excited to go to Florida. And I'm going to let Sue say hi here and wrap up this video.
Hi guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.